What's up, everybody? This is NBA at the Bar, and we're your host. I'm TA.
It's GMoney.
And we are back at you for some NBA action.
Yeah.
Want to get started off? I want to thank all of our people that have been with us since the beginning of the season. I want to thank all of our new people that are coming in and just viewing us for the first time. But each and every single one of you, if you have not done it yet, I need you to do me a quick favor. I need you to tap in for us. I need you to like. I need you to follow. I need you to download, and I need you to subscribe. We are on all podcast platforms along with YouTube. So check us out. If y'all want to see these handsome faces in person, check us out on YouTube. If you just love our masculine, strong voices, just keep us on the podcast. But we appreciate you any which way you come see us. And today, GMoney, what are you drinking on?
I'm sticking with the Shell Dag, man. You know, I think I'm converted. I started off with my JB blended scotch, and I think I'm a single malt Shell Dag guy now.
You know, that Shell Dag is good. I got on it last night, and I had a little bit too much, so it was a rough morning for me.
Well, you know, it ain't for the weak of the meek.
It's not. And I'm over here sipping on some Decorte, some little French fine cognac.
Decorte. Look at you trying to get your French Francais on.
Get my Francais on, so absolutely feeling good. So with that being said, let's jump into some action, because you know what?
Yes, indeedy.
This is some important times, you know, as we go right before that All-Star weekend. We run into the trade deadline.
Deadline.
February 8th. But the trades are beginning to start manifesting themselves. We talked about one last week and the week before last, and we have another big one this past week. Mm-hmm. And so that's with our man Siakam.
Yeah, Pascal Siakam.
Yeah. Everybody was over here vying to get Pascal, because, you know, the reality is he's a legit player. He has that finals experience. He's shown a proven track record of being a phenomenal teammate, being able to score consistently. He's a great defender. And so everybody wanted him. And what's great is that I think a team that really needed a player like this to kind of bolster that that overall roster.
Yeah, he brought legitimacy to the Pacers.
Legitimacy, but also that kind of like grown man, because that's a young team. And he brought that maturity. He's going to be able to bring that maturity to the team. He's going to be able to fill a need with a long wing player. So tell me, what do you think about that Siakam trade?
I like it. Look, he is for NBA annals and just how the league is, he is a quintessential flex 4. So he's a guy who can step out to the 3, but can score on an island if he needs to. And he's athletic, so he can defend. And he basically has 1 or 2, 3, maybe 3 good go-to moves. And he basically can score at a high percentage. And you put him with Haliburton, and it's like, oh my God.
Because Haliburton's going to be able to put him in great positions to score.
Absolutely. And they're a team that plays with pace.
Right.
So it's not like you got to go into a half-court set and grind him out. Not to say that he can't still get his game off, but
he's better in transition.
He's better in transition. Mm-hmm. So, and you're playing with a guy who loves transition, and your coach who is preaching transition. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So it actually works. So then you got the mere move you got. They have Buddy Hield, and quite frankly, I don't know if they're going to keep Buddy Hield, but they have a transitional big man, because this trade, they got rid of Brown. So that actually, to me, makes them more likely to maybe keep a guy like him. But then you basically have Siakam and Turner and Haliburton. Mm-hmm. And then Nesmith is another guard. Mm-hmm. They are dangerous, and they are gazelles. Everybody's going to run. So, shoot.
But here's what the thing is. What people have to realize when you do these trades like this, and we saw this in their first game where Siakam came in, is getting acclimated. It takes a second to sit over here and get your footing, understand your new teammates, understand this new offense, understand where you're best positioned on the floor and how you're going to be able to attack teams in this new space. Mm-hmm. So, you know, if we don't see instantaneous success within the next couple of days and next couple of games, it's all right. Allow this team a week or two to kind of figure it all out and work it all out, because we've seen that throughout the league. outside of Anunoby out there who kind of came on like gangbusters with New York. But other than that, usually it takes a little bit for them to get acclimated. But once you get acclimated, I definitely see this team. I would say by the All-Star break is going to start going on that run.
Yes,
and it's going to be real exciting.
I agree with you. But what I would also say is that the talent of the individual kind of supersedes rhythm. So it's like we just don't know the perfect sweet spots to give you the ball all the time. But at the end of the day, even if I just give you the ball in transition or in half court sets, I know you can do your thing because you did that for another team. Mm-hmm. So then once we actually figure out how to strategically use you in the best way, then we'll be even more dangerous. But I know I can drop the ball to Siakam and he's going to give me a bucket. Mm-hmm. And so that makes them dangerous, especially with a guy like Haliburton, because he's such a dynamic presence. It's really about how does Haliburton now deal with the new toy? How can he best execute with him? Mm-hmm. And by the time that they get past let's say the last 2 or 3 months of the season, they're going to be formidable. Mm-hmm. Will they be scary enough to scare the top 3 in the East? I don't know.
Well, I still think they're probably one significant, OG roughneck, because they still need to get a little bit stronger defensively. So, and they're still trying to be active in the trade market. So I still think they're maybe one player away. I don't know if they'll get them this season, but I do think from what we even saw from the in-season tournament is that this team can get hot and this team can be problems for even the best teams in their conference. Yep. And during playoff time. So, I don't know if this is a championship team, but I definitely know they have a whole lot of the foundation to get there. I think there's still 1 or 2 players away, and maybe one very good individual to come off the bench, to get them there. But we'll see. Again, they're I don't believe that they're done. We still have 2 more weeks before the end of the trade deadline, and it's just going to be very exciting to see this team 3 months from now as we're heading into the playoff time and see where they're at. And, obviously we're going to broach this conversation with them, throughout the season because they have such dynamic players, and definitely towards the end of the season as they're making that march towards the playoffs. Right. But the real question is are there any other teams that are out there that that are maneuvering, that are shaking the trees on other players to make some big moves during the trade deadline?
You know what? I think that it's an arms race right now for DeJounte Murray. So now that Siakam is kind of like come off of the hot seat and he's now settled into a team, mm-hmm. the guy that everybody seems to love is he plays for the Atlanta Hawks, mm-hmm. but he really grew up in the Popovich tutelage, mm-hmm. is DeJounte Murray. And this is a guard who can defend at a high level. He's athletic. I think he's somewhere around 6'6", but don't quote me. But I think he's somewhere around
6'5", 6'6",
6'5", 6'6", and he's just ultra athletic, and he can shoot with a really high clip. He can score. Mm-hmm. Where I should say, not shoot per se, but he can score with a lot of efficiency, and he's coveted. So you have the Lakers that really want him.
Well, the Lakers really need him.
The Lakers need him. Mm-hmm. Because the thing about the Lakers defense is that they don't have a point of attack guys. Ever since they lost Dennis Schroeder, they don't have a point of attack defender. Mm-hmm.
From the guard position.
They may be able to score, and they have a back end that is with Anthony Davis that can block shots and do all those things. But if you don't have a guy that is a point of attack defender, then that messes up the rotation. And, mm-hmm. Everybody's looking at you like barbecue chicken because they're going to eat up Reeves and, mm-hmm. and Russell. Mm-hmm. And they are.
And they are, right.
So mm-hmm. that's one. But then you have Milwaukee's that also has the same problem. Mm-hmm. And Milwaukee has a lot more assets to offer. So they're in the mix. So
that would be dangerous.
That would be.
Yeah, that would be scary.
That would be with Dame, Giannis, and DeJounte. They would be scary.
But the deal is usually the team that is most desperate is a team that's willing to give up the most.
Yeah.
And so I do believe with LeBron at this stage of his career and how unhappy and unsatisfied he is with the team's play since the in-season tournament, I do think that he could apply the most pressure and has the most power to do so to the front office to do what they need to do to get this individual, because not only do they need some help with defense, which is supposed to be a staple of this team, but they really need some help with scoring. It can't fall on just AD and LeBron's shoulders to sit over here and hope that one of the other, 3 or 4 people that can actually score on the team, like a Reeves or somebody's going to come in there and be able to drop 20 to 25 points.
Right.
And they need somebody. They have people that are dropping in the high teens, but they need somebody to be closer to a 22, 23, 25 point score to sit over here and shrink that gap in terms of what they need to start winning games, because they're losing games not by huge blowouts. They're losing games by 4, 6, 8 points. And you get somebody that's a more prolific scorer and a little bit better defender. So
and a little younger,
a little bit faster, that can hedge off a little bit of that scoring, maybe knock off 2 or 3 points from the opponent's final score, and also adding 3, 4, 5 points to the Lakers score. That's how you sit over here and bridge that gap.
I couldn't agree with you more. I actually think you're spot on. The thing about the Lakers is that when Anthony Davis or LeBron James have to sit down because they need rest. So you can't over leverage, especially when we're talking about just in the regular season, LeBron James and Anthony Davis, because they need somebody that either can sustain. I don't care if they have a 3-point or a 10-point lead. You need somebody who has the ability to be able to sustain or maintain the lead. And they don't have that on the team right now, or at least in a consistent level. Sometimes it can be D'Angelo Russell, and sometimes it's
once
not.
a month. Once a month. He's not going to do it too consistently.
I've seen him come out of the slump, and they've played a couple of high leverage teams, and he's done it. But then they messed around and lost to New Jersey or Brooklyn.
Right.
And it was evident. It was like, okay, if you're not the guy who's now going to get 40 in this game or has the ability to get 40, your defense is piss poor, and you're going to be barbecue chicken, as Shaq likes to say. So, and you were barbecue chicken. They don't need that, because LeBron and Anthony Davis can't do everything all the time. They're just not at an age and a stage in their careers to be able to overcome and supersede that. And you see that by them having these big gaps where they're not on the floor, even though they play a lot of minutes. So you need a guy like a DeJounte Murray to come in and be a Kobe light to fill in and to let everybody know, y'all ain't doing this to us today. I'm about to smack you back. And they don't have that right now. That third star or that 1 or 2 guys. Now the Lakers in the trade deadline, I've heard them talk about Tyus Jones. I've heard them talk about Jerami Grant. Like, he's a guy who's been somewhat of a journeyman too, but he will mess around and give you 30 and 40. Like, they need to do a deal like that.
I don't think that can be the only deal. I think they need that type of individual like that, along with somebody far more established. Because one of the things is Grant is an individual that can just have pop-up days, but they can't do it on call. He can't sit over and say, "This is your night. We need you to do it."
Well, the only reason that I don't necessarily agree with that, because I will say he's been on teams where he's had to be the man. So you don't have to be the man when you're playing with LeBron James.
Those are also the worst teams in the NBA at the time. So, anybody can be the man on those teams.
Yeah, but he was a guy who was required to be the man.
Mm-hmm.
Like he played for the Pistons, and it was like, okay, we basically need you to be 30, 40 every night. Let's say conservatively 28 points every night. And he's delivered close to that. But then, he's got the pressure on him like he's the man. When you're playing with LeBron James and Anthony Davis, you don't need that. So what they really are just saying, can you give me 20? Can you consistently give me 20? Can you consistently give me 25? And then maybe every so often again, you get hot and you go off. That's what they're really looking for. Because right now, all the pressure is on Reeves and D'Angelo Russell. And both of those guys are, let's say, marginal defenders, and they're inconsistent with their own offensive output. I would say Reeves is more consistent, but he's more of a playmaker. He's more of a pseudo combo guard / point guard because he likes to give plays to others. But you just need somebody who's going to be like, I can defend at a high level. I can make sure that we don't get penetration, and I will give you a solid 20. And if you give LeBron that, then LeBron can be scary because LeBron doesn't have to exude as much energy as he has to do right now. And Anthony Davis can be Anthony Davis, and it'll result in a win. So right now, it's like both LeBron and Anthony Davis basically have to have monster games to get a 2 or 3 point win to make us look good, because we have too much inconsistency throughout the rest of the lineup. So that's why the Lakers know that they need to do a deal. But I think getting a solid point guard like Tyus Jones and getting Jerami Grant would make them eons better.
I would agree with that.
Yes.
Yeah, definitely better than where they're at.
And we might have to sacrifice Rui Hachimura, and we might have to sacrifice a first-round draft pick, and we might have to sacrifice Russell. But so be it.
And I think it's all right to sacrifice, because the reality is after the iteration of this team, as it currently sits, or as it will sit at the end of this season, I think, we might be, at best case scenario, a season away from a complete tear it all down to build it back up.
Yeah.
So you might as well sit over here and get that first round pick off for next year, to get the players to do what you need to do with LeBron at 40.
Yeah.
We don't need to sit over here and say, okay, well, we need to do whatever we need to do at 41, 42.
Right.
Let's sit over and get that done now to make some difference. But, I got another player for you that is a hot commodity that the league is coveting, and I hear a lot of teams are looking out, and that's Clarkson from the Utah Jazz.
Oh, yeah. Should look at him. He's great.
He's great. He's playing well. It's funny, when this trade deadline comes about and you're below that 10th spot in the standings, and you're on a team that's going to probably need to dismantle, that are going to be probably looking for trades to sit over here and get new and infuse the team with new and exciting talent from the draft. So they're going to be looking to again break the team down to build it back up. Those players all of a sudden get into activation mode. One is
because they probably want to get out of their situation, so they're like, go ahead, let me power up and show my work.
Correct. Power up and show the work, especially when you talk about a team that's in Utah. Because Clarkson, I don't know, is
good old Mormon country,
right? That really wants to sit over here and stay in Utah. So he's like, let me sit over here and ball out, so somebody can come get me. Maybe I can go to
it's so funny even seeing him over there, because he got the tats, he got the cornrows. I be like, bruh, you don't necessarily match this. But I mean, hey, we live in an era to where everybody does everything everywhere. But traditionally, he is not a Utah Jazz type of caliber looking guy,
right?
But he does produce for them. So yeah, I would. But let's say, everything being said, I would like to see him go somewhere where he can
better
be a real contributor.
And but it's funny. I will tell you this: the Utah Jazz, man, they're dancing up them standings.
They are.
They have gone on a 7-game winning? No,
I think you're right.
no, not 7-game. It's a 4 or 5-game winning streak. But they're just playing consistently.
I think you were right the first time. I think
roughly 6, 7 games.
They started out with 6. I think they've moved up to
7-game winning streak, and
they're
so they're playing well. Ninth place,
like
so they're
that.
in that play-in, scenario. And I wonder, because when you have action at the playoffs, that can disrupt your ideas of what you want to do in terms of dismantling team and building back up, saying, well, maybe we can make a run. We can get to the playoffs now, and so I wonder, are they going to possibly have a mitigated urgency to sit over here and do some trades in the next coming weeks because they're doing well. Right. I think probably this next week will kind of determine that, and it'll come down to the very end, to the 6th, 7th, or the 8th, or the 5th, 6th, or 7th, before they actually make that decision.
Yeah,
to see where they're at.
The thing about the Utah Jazz is they have duplication. They're a very deep team, but they have redundancy at point guard, shooting guard, small forward. They just have guys. And I have to actually also say center. So because Kessler is there, and Kessler probably deserves to get 30 to 45 minutes, but they got at least 2 good centers behind him. So it's kind of like they need to offload in order to just settle on, this is going to be our starting 5 and this is going to be our backups because of minutes. So you can't. But give do you make that choice
when you're surging? That's what's difficult. It's like upsetting the apple cart. If it's obviously right. Has been broken at the beginning of the season, but right now they might be or from the front office might believe that they're formulating something. But the reality is, it's probably the urgency on the players' part to sit over here and maybe get out of that market, right, and go to a different team, possibly to a contender. Because when you're leaving a team that's challenged or defunct, what they're doing is their thought process is they're going to go to a team that's a defender. So they're going to go from a team that's not going to make the playoffs.
Yeah, if you're going to trade me and I have any semblance of control over it,
not control, just value. Just if they have value to be traded, they're going to be traded to a better team, and then that creates that urgency. So what happens? And and the reason why I bring this up is what happens to that fire in their bellies after the 8th? And players that haven't been traded, are they able to maintain that and rally and galvanize, saying, hey, we got a shot to make the playoffs, or do they peter out?
Right.
So, and that's going to be interesting to see. It's going to be interesting to see what they do from a trade perspective. It's also going to be interesting to see what this team is and what they do after the trade deadline starting on the 9th.
You bring up a very good point. The dichotomy that you always see around the trade deadline is that you see the let's say the mental fortitude of men that are in the league, because there's also a bunch of guys who end up playing very piss poor during the trade deadline because they're more or less demoralized from the commitment that they started the year with. So, okay, I'm going to be the starter. I'm going to be this guy or that guy. This was my role. And now I know that I am in trade conversations. And so now I don't think that the organization has commitment in me. So I may not put forth the best effort. And because now I know that I'm on the trade annals. But I think that the mistake that these players often make when they do that is it's very similar to how football players talk about it, is that you never want to put bad film out there. You never want to have instances to where you aren't performing at your optimum. And so if for your future contracts, you need to perform at your optimum regardless of the trade contracts. Now, maybe because of the fact that we're losing, maybe it's your fault, maybe it's not your fault, but we can certainly tie it to being your fault because you're now playing piss poor in this moment. And then this strange thing that happens is that once we get past the trade deadline, and then guys say, oh, okay, this is really going to be my team for the whole year. And then they pick it up, and then they all of a sudden play to their optimum level because they're now committed to the journey for their respective team. Human nature, not mad at them, but at the end of the day, the great ones realize is that I need to be great all the time,
right?
Not some of the time.
But I don't know if that's a team with great ones. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That's a conversation between good and great. Great people are the equivalent thing about that. Good people,
and you know, and at the NBA level, they're all elite athletes and they're all elite basketball players. But you're right. That's the differentiator between Hall of Famers, future Hall of Famers, and just the guys that are here.
Without a doubt. That'll be cycled in and out of the league. Let's talk about another team that's has been kind of riding under the radar all season, and now they are surging, and that's the Cavs. The Cavs are absolutely doing the deal. Spida is playing out of his mind. And again, another one of those teams. I know they
are on a 7-game winning streak. So maybe I was thinking about
correct. That's what I was thinking. They're on a 7-game winning streak.
You might have been right. You might have been right. You corrected me. But they definitely
are on the 7-game winning streak and are playing absolutely phenomenal. Have surged all the way to the 4th spot in the East. And this was already a relatively good team that was dramatically and drastically underperforming early in the season. And it looks like they've kind of got everybody rowing in the same direction. And the team is doing and are performing, almost to what they are supposed to. I'll tell you this. I didn't think at the beginning of the season the Cavs would be a 4th flirting with a 3rd seed like they are now. I mean, Philly's been playing well and they're only a game behind Philly.
Right.
I expect this team to be maybe a 5th or 6th seed, but they've surged. And I think that this is a team that when they're feeling themselves like they are, that are going to have the ability to sit over here and maintain it.
Yeah.
It's not like an Orlando from earlier in the season that is a team that's kind of coming into their own. This team had their Orlando and Indiana Pacers stage last year.
Yeah.
You understand what I'm saying? This is the iteration of that. After
they're
they've
more
been
mature.
together for you, they're more mature. They have that experience together. So, super excited to sit over here and see how their season continues to progress. I don't, every team can always use something, but I don't know if it's like an emergency for this team. I think they have all the pieces in place to continue to perform well. Now, what they don't have is a team that can win a championship. Not saying that by any stretch of the imagination, but they do have a team that can be competitive in the top half or top third of the Eastern Conference.
Now, you know what makes me laugh when I hear you say that is because, you and both and I, we have a family that is from Ohio, right? So we have Akron and Ohio roots.
Correct.
And I would say that they would be flipping the table over for you to say that the Cleveland Cavaliers are not ready to go ahead and win this championship.
Is LeBron on that team?
LeBron is not.
Okay, okay.
However, but there's not a more diehard
fan base, without a doubt.
Other than Ohio. These guys are nuts about their team.
They are gluttons for punishment.
Oh, they are
just
gluttons.
like you're a Raiders fan.
Now see, different sport.
Glutton for punishment.
Now, you're about to have me cuss. Don't have me cuss on camera. But okay, yeah, I get what you're saying though, because it's the same amount of passion and fervor that I'm really speaking to. Look, Spida is playing on the level. I almost wanted to say another level, but it's not another level.
It's the expected level.
It's the expected level.
And he was playing below that prior.
Yeah.
And it reflected in their standings early in the season.
The only thing that is probably not making him one of the best players in the league is the fact that he probably just needed to grow another 3 inches. Because if he was 6'5" or 6'6",
Right.
he would literally destroy everybody.
Everybody, right?
But the thing is, he's so skilled and he's so aggressive that just makes him so much that dynamic player.
Mm-hmm.
And he is an individual that when you hear his interviews and you just listen to him talk in post-game activity, that he really wants it.
Mm-hmm.
He does on a different level.
Mm-hmm.
It's just he hasn't performed in the playoffs and has basically drug his team to the promised land. And he has the Cleveland Cavaliers, and he has an opportunity to do that with them. So they're good.
Mm-hmm.
They will always be in the playoff mix. This just, I don't think that they have a differentiating talent. They have a we're always going to be their talent.
Mm-hmm.
And will Spida grow to a level to where we can start to consider them? I don't know, but I would just say he and Cleveland are both expecting that to happen this year, and they're starting to come into form, and they got a couple of people who are hurt, himself included, that are now starting to finally get healthy now. Mm-hmm. So we'll see, but I'm not holding my breath.
No, don't hold your breath. But it's still a great story. I still think that they're going to be hovering between that 6th, 7th spot if they slip a little bit to that 4th spot, because this is the team that we kind of expected.
Yeah, because Mobley isn't back yet. Right. I think he's not going for the year. I think
he'll be back, but it's going to be after the All-Star break. But this is a rock solid team. And in the East, really, that's what you need to do to compete. Is you just need to be a rock solid team. It's not as difficult of a gauntlet as the West is.
You're right.
But speaking of teams coming into their own, we've been able to see a team like the Clippers that were kind of like, everybody was laughing, a 4th star in Harden and how that began, and now we're seeing the fruits of that labor.
Yeah, Clippers look real sexy.
Real sexy right now. But there was another team that was put together in a similar vein, and that was the Phoenix Suns. And we've talked about them periodically throughout the year, and even recently, with finally all 3 of them coming together, and we saw a little bit of, I wouldn't say hiccups, but a little bit of finding their way in the first week, since what's my man from Washington that just got back from getting hurt. So Beal,
Bradley
Beal is finally on the court. He's finally on the court consistently.
Good heavens to Betsy.
Right, and now we're talking about 2 weeks in, they're playing together, they're acclimated, they're comfortable, they're on a 4-game winning streak.
Yeah,
they're surging.
They're starting to look like what people said that they were supposed to look like in the preseason. They're starting to look a little scary.
They're starting to look scary. And what's nice and what we see is in the past 10 games, they have the best record at 7-3 of any team in the NBA. And so what that shows me is in a 10-game schedule, that's about 2 weeks. It's about 14 days, a 10-game schedule. And so in the past 2 weeks, you've really seen this team come together and really form what everybody expected they were to be when this trade was originally made.
Yeah.
And so let me tell you something. They are going to be dangerous in the West. The West now, with everybody, the Clippers, the Phoenix Suns, with these heavy hitter teams, you're talking about, they're no joke, like 6 deep. From 1 to 6 that has action to being able to go to the finals and even win a world championship.
I have to agree with you. They are, but they only run, in terms of scary players, maybe 6 deep. So then it's just.
But what do you run in the playoffs?
You're doing that in the West.
But what do you run in the playoffs? You run 6, 7 deep in the playoffs. You don't go 8, 9 deep in the playoffs. You run 6, 7 deep in the playoffs, and you go win shit.
Well, then you're right. But
can this team physically hold up?
Yes,
to be able to be there.
Because I think that the teams that are the most formidable, the Denvers, The Minnesotas. I would even throw out your Minnesota.
Yes.
Okay, I know you want to give me the OKCs. They run about 8 or 90.
But you got to run 8 or 90 if you're Oklahoma, for example, just use them example, or even a T-Wolves, because you don't have the type of experience. So you got to just put fresh bodies in there that are active.
Yeah,
that
it is like
playing
in a 7-game
with the hair on fire.
Even though it's every other game or every other day, does Phoenix have enough to when people is like, all right, I'm about to roll this super lineup out on you, and I'm about to roll another super lineup.
Well, here's the challenge with that. The challenge with that is to get positioned in a way that they need to be positioned in the playoffs to make a real run. They can't like really maximize the new rule of 65 games and bring it all the way to the doorstep. They actually have to all play the whole season to position themselves, which could lead to a mature team like this being a little bit exhausted by the time the playoffs come, and then they don't have the necessary that they need.
I can't pull up my.
I can't summon
some extra powers
to push them. You know, they might, depending on where they fall in seeding, they might be able to push through the first round, but will after that first round and beat them up, and the West is so strong that that could be a 7-game series. Then you're talking about going to the second round where, you know, the competition is going to really jump up. Do you have enough in that series to sit over and get you to a conference final? Only time will tell. And again, we don't know where they're going to be at. They don't have a lot to trade. That's the challenge. They don't have picks to trade. They don't even have players to trade. What you see is what you get. And they've maxed out their money. So what you see is what you get. So it's going to be an interesting balancing act to figure out how they're going to get through this season and give these more mature players enough time and enough rest to sit over here and still be fresh enough to perform in the playoffs.
So I just almost want to say Booker and KD, you better eat your Wheaties, okay? Because we're going to be asking you to do a whole lot there, sir.
Well, let me talk about somebody that's for damn sure been eating his Wheaties, and he got a cape on. He's been eating his Wheaties, and he's a bad Wembanyama.
Who you about to say?
And that's the one and only future face of the NBA.
A future face?
Write it down. I'm calling it right now. Future face of the NBA.
Who are you about to say?
Ant.
Oh, Lord.
That
Lord have mercy.
That man is doing things that are special. He's like I'm
so mad you said that.
A Jordan Dominique Wilkins mix.
Oh my God. You are ridiculous.
Hey, let me tell you something.
You are
I'm not the only one. I'm not the only one in basketball media. I'm not the only one on social media. I'm not the only one that is seeing glimpses of greatness.
The man
Jordan.
See, this is almost like your Kansas City love when we talk about the Chiefs. But
because I recognize greatness.
Look, I respect Anthony, and I actually do think that he's a phenomenal player. I think that it's unquestioned, and then, you know, and if you're the dude who's in Minnesota that is like, I'm over here banging on folks, it's hard for me to say that you're not the man. But when you start giving him this level of love, now granted, they are number one in the
exactly,
they are number one inside of behind. So
it's a bad boy.
It's not like you're like stupid for saying that. But I'm like, I don't know. I don't know yet.
Individuals are uncomfortable with it until they see it.
Okay.
So I'm uncomfortable. I like to dabble a little bit in gambling and so on and so forth. So you have to take leaps of faith.
Okay.
You have to be able to prognosticate. You have to be able to see it before you've actually seen it, so you can bet on it and get the higher rate of return. And so what I'm telling you is that this young man, can't call him a kid. This grown ass man. When this man is going to sit over here and continue to do special shit that we have not seen in quite some time. And he does it effortlessly, and he does it, he wants to go after people's heads. And when you have that fire out like a Kobe, like a Jordan, and LeBron's my favorite player, but the killer instinct that LeBron maybe didn't necessarily have, this kid has it in him. And so that is what's always special to me.
Are you telling me you trying to preach before you teach? You over here, you gonna tell it to me.
I'm exposed before it gets posed. That's what I'm doing. I'm going to expose it. I'm going to expose it before it's been posed to the public. And again, what we are, but remember, the greatness doesn't come in the regular season. They can be number one all they want. The greatness,
legends are
made in the playoffs, and then getting to the championship. Kawhi was just a good player until he won the championship.
Yes.
All the great ones, all right. And so that's what I'm excited of. I think we're on the precipice of being able to watch this young man go to that level, at least get to the finals. Now,
if he takes ice fishing Minnesota to the promised land or to the finals, not only will I be flabbergasted, I think that most of the modern world will have to bow down to him, because that is not expected. I think most of us watching basketball will say Denver is just like the Terminator. They are a monster that they just find a way to win, and they will.
See, and I think you're just getting excited because you just saw them have that big win against the Celtics.
I am not a fan of Denver, but when they beat the Celtics, and the Celtics had every reason in the world to win that game because they don't get panicked, they just do it.
But I like odds. They hadn't lost a home game. So if the team that hasn't lost a home game is going to lose to anybody, I can unequivocally see it happening to losing to Denver.
Okay. Well, that is a easy statement to, not an easy statement, but a clear and salient statement to make.
Unequivocally.
I think that you are correct. However, the thing about Denver is that they just don't waver. So when you start talking about 7-game series where we can lock in, outside of injury, where is the weakness? Where can I exploit them? And that's what I saw with the Celtic game. That was just kind of like, we hit them, we dunked on them, we got up by 10, we did all these things, but there is an unwaveringness about them. Their formula, they have the power forward who can do it all. We can get stops. We got KCP. We got Murray that is just basically an angry version of Kobe. Mm-hmm. He's not Kobe, but he's Kobe light, but he's an angry version, and he's desperate. Mm-hmm. Then you have what's arguably is the best center in the game right now, because he can do it from the outside and the inside, and he passes. So we're just all.
Here's the thing is, their greatest player doesn't have a fire in him.
And you're trying to tell me that Jokic is not okay.
He don't have the fire.
So all
of won it.
Okay, so
he doesn't sit over here and want to be the man. Ant-Man wants to be the man, and you got to remember that this is a team that has added another needed piece in Gorbet. And so when I look at that team, and when it comes down to a conference finals between those two, because again, like Bill Parcells said, again, another sport, but still matters. You are what your record is. There's a reason why this team is number 1 and Denver's number 3. I could see if Denver was number 2 and they was a half a game out. No, there's a team in between them that's also playing well. That's OKC.
Yeah. OKC is certainly a threat.
And so what I look at is, I think they get they could beat OKC because at the end of the day is they have a little bit more experience. OKC is just young and lively and excited young kids. But the difference is when they have to see Ant-Man in the finals, is this dude realizes this is my opportunity to be great. This is my opportunity to be legendary. This is my opportunity to be a Hall of Famer.
Oh, you're
this
all in on you're
all because my eyes don't lie. I believe my lying eyes.
Okay.
And let me tell you something. When I see this man throw it off the backboard to go dunk on somebody, you know what? We've seen Kobe do that.
Yeah, and you know when they threw that highlight out there.
And you know when you're great is when the reigning MVP is copying you the very next day and doing what you just did because you impressed him so great. Embiid did the same exact play afterwards and admitted afterwards, I saw him do it, I wanted to do it. That is signs of greatness.
Well, you know what? You put a whole lot of wolf tickets on this guy. So
that's all wolf tickets. This is all facts what I'm talking about.
All right. I mean, he did do those things, but yeah, he's going to have to really deliver. And I almost feel like I need to move my chair out of the way because you just said that Jokic don't have the fire and desire. I damn near am like, okay.
You want to go drink a beer. You want to go back to Europe and go drink a beer. So all I'm saying is the beautiful thing is we're going to have an opportunity to have these same conversations in a few months.
Be careful.
And then you know what I love to do most? Say, I told you so.
Okay.
So I look forward to sit over here and say, tell you and everybody else, I told you so.
All right. Well,
hey, they called me Negro Dominus for a reason.
Who calls you Negro Dominus? I know.
Hey, the public does.
The public
becomes the fruition.
Okay. The public.
But you know, I want to talk to you about an individual, and I know it kind of maybe feels that we talk about this individual a lot, but actually we don't. We actually don't talk about him enough. But I recently came across some statistics that I can't ignore.
I think I know where you're going.
And I have to sit over here and have this discussion because it was so unbelievable. We're going to talk about, say it with your chest, Wemby.
Oh my God.
It's
your favorite, what I would say is your Care Bear stare. Your love.
Wemby. So let me give you an opportunity to hear why we're talking about Wemby again.
Okay.
And so in the first 31 games, Wemby has almost 20 more block shots than the number 2 player in NBA history in their first 31 games. You know, who do you think who that number 2 person could be?
Only thing in terms of what is the
block shots?
Block shots? I don't know. Will Chamberlain? I don't know. Who the hell?
Well, that's actually a good guess. But don't bring this in here. Dikembe with the big
okay. Well, that makes sense.
Dikembe's a leader. I'm going to probably get into the Hall of Fame, if he's not in the Hall of Fame already, based off of block shots.
Okay.
He has
That's what he did.
Almost 20 more block shots in the first 31 games than Dikembe did. Guess how many block shots Wemby has?
How many?
101 in his first.
Well, he's 8 feet tall, games. So God bless him.
He's 8 feet tall. You know, he should be, right? I mean, this is a giant.
No, I'm exaggerating. Maybe he's 7'5".
7'4", 7'5". He's a giant man, right?
Whatever.
But listen to this second stat.
Okay.
He has the most 3-pointers made in the first 31 games of his career.
Now that.
And 5 more
when you say
than the number 2. So who do you think the number 2 is in NBA history in terms of 3-pointers made in their first 31 games?
In their first 31 games?
First 31 games.
First 31. Ooh, that's a hard one. I'm going to...
Who's the best shooter in the NBA history?
Steph Curry.
Steph Curry.
Oh, so I was right. Okay.
So he has 5 more 3-pointers made in his first 31 games than Steph Curry. So think of the dichotomy of having 20 more block shots, 101 block shots, and have 5 more. I think it's 46, if I'm not mistaken, 46 threes in their first 31 games. Hey, what we are witnessing in front of our eyes is a true, real life unicorn.
Okay, so I already know your Wemby love is like on 10. So,
but stats like that is what sits over here and makes me be passionate about an individual that can do something that is they're completely on the opposite ends of the spectrum in terms of those stats and who they are traditionally attributed to. One is, the number 2 is Dikembe Mutombo. On the other stat is Steph Curry. Diametrically opposite, polar opposites of each other. But he brings it all one. Does that make him a unicorn?
It does make him a unicorn. But I realize I'm going to say this in my calm voice because I see how geeked you are. Okay, because I see how you're hypey right now. Up. Oh my God!
I love greatness. I love seeing it.
You're super hypey right now. But okay, but I understand. The thing that now needs to come together for him is that he needs to get on the floor, because one of the things that with all those stats that you just dribbled off, the man he plays every other game. Okay. He plays like he be missing like.
I want you to listen to yourself. He plays every other game, but is dominating those. Imagine if he played every game.
Right. So now, if I'm
imagine if he played every game.
So if I'm in San Antonio, I'm like, okay, what physical therapist do we need to bring to the equation?
No. See, you miss history. You miss what happened. If it wasn't for the goofy ball boy that was over here fucking picking his nose when Wemby was shooting around and happened to be standing where Wemby was shooting around at, Wemby tweaked his ankle, then he hadn't missed any time before then. Well, I think he missed one game prior to that.
Well, then clearly he has tender ankles and he needs to work on ankle weights and do some exercises.
And he does. You haven't seen the exercises that he does. But at the end of the day, is you're 30 games in, and any rookie that comes into the league, this is when you hit that wall. So at the end of the day,
that's true.
If this is the foundation we're building on, we are literally building on and having the opportunity to witness an individual, a cult-like figure that is synonymous with LeBron. Transformative, transcendent, just like LeBron was. And I was having the same conversation with individuals back in 1999, 2000, when LeBron was just coming into the game. And hold on, because mind you, you just mentioned we have family in Akron. LeBron's from Akron. Yeah. So I had a cousin on the other side of the same side of the family, but I had a cousin, you'll know this cat, name is Charles, that was in Akron that had saw LeBron playing in 8th grade. And playing against pro cats and giving them the business. And he came out and visited California and he said, hey, there's this kid from back home in Akron that is going to be the greatest player who ever touched a basketball. And his name is LeBron. This is before any of us knew. This is before he was a high school phenom, before he was on
everybody said he's ridiculous.
That saw him in person in 8th grade. Yeah. So I was sitting over here telling cats about him back then, and everybody. Yeah. If you forget, coming back from college, playing against Steve Nash, I said, there's this white dude.
Yeah. I remember you talking to me about Steve Nash specifically, because you were like, nobody's paying attention to this white dude. But he is
the business. Playing against him 3 times my freshman year, and him throwing dimes and the ball hitting people in the face because he was so good. I said, and I remember two MVPs later and a Hall of Fame later.
I know.
So what I tell you is,
now the only reason that I am going to hate on that moniker is because I don't like you. Okay, so boo and bah humbug. But okay, you might have had a point.
So just allow me to sit over here, just like I'm introducing you to Ant-Man. Understand that Ant-Man, a couple years from now, is going to be the unequivocal face. And let me tell you something. Him and Ja, that's going to be the two cats are going to be constantly battling for that. And I'm not talking about this year. I'm not talking about next year. I'm talking about the year after that.
You're giving me,
but I'm saying about 3 years from now, it's going to be those two individuals that are going to be the, oh my God, these are the two faces of the league.
Okay, so we'll see, and that's in the realm of possibility, but I don't think so. I think if I were to say who are going to be the stewards, I would say it's probably going to be a toss-up between Jokic and Anthony Davis.
Right. The game has passed you by. And with that being said, we got to go and get out of here.
I love it. I love it. Go ahead.
Ladies and gentlemen, it was fun. We had a great week.
We did.
Sit over here and watch as many games as possible. Come back and see us next week.
My man tell me
we're going to have an opportunity to talk some more basketball next week, and we're going to get some more great stuff going.
Yeah.
Appreciate you always. Love you, man.
Hey, church on the moon.
Church on the moon. See you soon.
I still think you're wrong.
Peace out.
But okay. ATB!